Hello, fellows and ladies. I saw Challengers last night and it was flames. Let's talk about it. Challengers is the latest from Luca Guadagnino, and it stars Zendaya as a former tennis superstar turned coach who's stuck in the middle of a bizarre love triangle between two best friends. And that is, without question, the simple way of describing this movie. You'd think I'm talking about a Cameron Diaz, Ben Stiller rom-com, but I'm actually talking about a psychosexual drama. Y'all ever just watch a movie and walk out with, like, an absurd burst of energy? That was me after watching Challengers. Before I get into all that, I should probably acknowledge what seems to be the elephant in this room, and that is that this movie is hot as fuck. I haven't seen Guadagnino's other films, mainly with a love and appreciation for Call Me By Your Name and Bones and All. I can say without a doubt that Luca is one horny dude. This movie has some fucking in it, don't get me wrong, but like this movie is steamy throughout. Like the chemistry between these three are fucking crazy. Like conversations are weirdly like sexually charged, whether they're even remotely like about sex or not. Like there's one scene where Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor's characters are just eating churros, and the way Luca shot the scene and the way they're talking to each other, I just couldn't help but go, oh, for the love of God, bite the bullet, take your clothes off, do adult things to each other. Luca just seems to have this understanding that like nothing sexual has to happen for things to be sexual. But throughout the film, there seems to be this low-key sexual psychological warfare going on between these three pieces of shit. People are bad people, let's be clear. They're egotistical, selfish people who constantly make bad choices and constantly are fucking with one another. You do kind of go with it because these performances are so goddamn believable. Even Zendaya, who at this rate is just one of the biggest humans on planet Earth. She almost weaponizes her star power in this movie, as her character is such a viperous woman that has like these two guys in the palms of her hands. She's electric and will absolutely be the big talking point, but Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor absolutely deserve recognition as well for their charming and deeply flawed portrayals. Also, I cannot stress this enough, Guadagnino goes off in this movie. This dude definitely was going for what is like easily his most broadly appealing film yet. Not that Bones and All, Call Me By Your Name are inaccessible per se, but they definitely had an art house feel to it. But this film, Guadagnino said, fuck it, we ball. And there are pros and cons to that, if I'm being honest. Sometimes film will use these POV shots, and at one point we're shown the movie through the POV of the tennis ball, which didn't really work for me. Guadagnino threw just about every idea he had into this movie, and most of it did stick. Something like staying under Mike Feist as he sweats, and the sweat drips on the camera. I saw this on IMAX, by the way. Or even shots from like underneath the court as they're playing. I also really loved how the score was used. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did another awesome score. They do not miss. But on its own, it could be interpreted as like another score from the duo. Like it's not too dissimilar to the Ninja Turtles score, for example. And it's electric during the tennis matches, and there is a lot of those in it. It's a tennis movie. But I also love when they use the score during like arguments in a very like similar style as the tennis matches. Basically these like back and forth arguments being presented as like a netless tennis match. There were moments when the score started to drown out the dialogue a little, like Tenet style, but I was still into it. Also, the editing is like fucking crazy. There are absolutely moments where the editing is way too much and even a little choppy in the rare moment, but for the most part it hit the pitch perfect notes. Also, shout out to the writer Justin Kuritzkis, who, I hope I'm saying that right, who's married to Celine Song, who did Past Lives and is basically this guy from Past Lives. This dude wrote Challengers, and he doesn't present any easy answers to what he's presenting. He's showing relationships born out of a passion for something that isn't each other, and when they get older and that passion begins to die out, does a relationship die out? Is Celine and Justin alright? Also, the movie is told in a very non-linear way. The movie will almost abruptly shift to a different point in time, either in the past or in the future. It'll say either 2 weeks ago, or a year later, or maybe a few hours later, or 13 years ago. It can get a little jarring at times. I would say it's very similar to the way Little Women played with time. Similarly with that film, I was like initially thrown off a bit, but very quickly got adjusted into what was going on and vibed with it. Like I suppose this movie could have been told in a linear way, but I had no issues with the non-linear storytelling here. Also, can I just say, the last 30 minutes rips so goddamn hard. I don't just mean the final tennis match, which did have a moment in particular that involved a callback to a certain thing that O'Connor does with the ball and racket that had me physically stopping myself from yelling, "Oh no!" But even as the film was like beginning to reach its apex, the film begins to slowly pick up as it gets to like the end of its climatic match, as we see Zendaya's character make some rough decisions. I was genuinely unblinkingly enthralled. Challengers is genuinely a film of fucking, either with dicks or no dicks. They're constantly fucking with each other, like almost the entire movie, and it's so electric to watch. On my ride home, I was so taken aback by the electricity. Lucas like fascinating directorial choices and Kritzky's unflinching character writing that my brain just shut down and started laughing. 3 outstanding lead performances help anchor what I can only imagine will remain one of the year's absolute best for the rest of the year, and I'm gonna give Challengers 9 Lucas out of 10. I guess I should talk Oscars briefly, but, long story short, I do not think this movie is getting any Oscar nominations. I do think this movie does have broad appeal, I will say that, and I do think it'll actually make more money than we think it's gonna make. But I don't see many Academy voters going for this kind of film. If I had to guess this gets one thing, like a future mannequin, hey, Challengers got 1 Oscar nomination, maybe I would guess score, but I don't see much reason they go for this score when Resident Ross has been ignored for non-picture stuff in the past, aside from, how the score is used this time around. Also, they have Queer, which is likely to be a bigger contender overall. Aside from maybe a Globe nomination, I truly do not buy Zendaya. For one, while she may be the central focus, especially in the marketing, her fights and O'Connor are absolutely co-leads. Amazon might be dicks and put the guys in supporting, but they are co-leads. But the performance, isn't a typical Oscar thing, and I fully acknowledge that the idea of what an Oscar performance is shifting. But the movie isn't going to be a thing. And I do not buy the idea that Zendaya having a moment is going to propel her. She just doesn't have, the scene, if that makes sense. You can argue she doesn't, have a lot of, obvious Oscar moments. Alright, that's it. Movie rocks. Go watch it, or I'll punch you in the nose. Like, subscribe, and share, and before any of you ask if the movie has accurate tennis in it, I don't know. It looked good, I guess. I don't watch tennis. What do I look like? I do play pickleball, so I guess I can't really talk shit.